Hi learners, we continue on our go to market module, and one of the early sessions in the go to market module I had talked to you about the 4 P's of marketing mix, and the 4 P's we had spoken of were product, were price, were promotion, which is advertising communication, and the fourth was place, which is sales and distribution. We spoke at length on product, and in that we not just covered product and benefits, but we also went to brand, and we spent a fair bit of time understanding differentiation in the context of product and brand. We are now moving to the next P, the next P of marketing, which is called price, and in this lesson I will talk to you about pricing strategies. What I and you buy as a finished product, and we buy at MRP, and the MRP can be as little as 5 rupees or 2 rupees or as high as 5 lakhs, 500,000 or whatever. There is a lot of thought that goes behind pricing, and in this lesson that is what I want to explain to you. As an entrepreneur or as a person working in an organization, you will benefit from understanding what are the elements or what are the thought processes that go into deciding what the final price of a product is. So, that is what we are going to do in this lesson. So, some of the fundamental concepts of price, and I will show you 2 of them which you definitely would know, which are called price and cost. I am sure in 7th grade or maybe 5th grade maths or 7th grade maths, we all were told you buy lemons at 5 rupees per lemon, you sell lemon at 6 rupees per lemon. What is the profit, what is the price, what is the cost? So, fundamentally price is what you sell at, cost is what you buy or produce at. Anything that I produce, I may buy some parts from outside, but finally the whole cost of putting it together is what is called cost. Price is what you sell at. The other word for price is revenue, or we often use a word called turnover or sales. So, price is the factor while you sell, cost is the factor when you buy or when you make. These are 2 that we have already been exposed to earlier in our learning careers. The value is, however, not just price minus cost. Price minus cost is called profit, which is, we all know it as profit, unit profit. One product I sell, one product I make, the difference between the selling price and the cost price is equal to profit. All of us have been through that for sure. But in this graph, I am showing you value created, and the higher part is even higher than price and the other part is even lower than cost. So, what are these 2 things? Let us now try and understand those. So, even before I go on and explain to you how pricing strategies work, I wanted to take one slide and work with some fundamental concepts around pricing. The first 2 concepts or the first 2 terms that I will show on the slide, all of us are familiar with. We have all done this in maybe grade 5 or class 6 or 7 ka maths. So, the 2 are called price and cost. We have all bought lemons or bought apples and sold lemons or sold apples. We bought at 3 rupees per apple and sold at 4 rupees per apple, and have calculated what is the profit, which is the difference between the selling price and the purchase cost. Yeah? Cost need not be only purchase, cost rightfully should also be about manufacturing. I did not grow the apple, I bought it and I sold it. But there are many things that companies actually produce, and that is called cost, cost of manufacturing. Cost of manufacturing is a word that you will keep coming across, and I will explain that in great detail when we come to the finance module. But for now, I want you to understand that price is what a company sells a product as, and cost is what a company makes a product at. In making, there could be some parts which are bought, some parts which are made, but the final cost is what is called the cost of the product. You would be used to price minus cost equal to profit, but if you look at the value created, it is showing a point higher than price and it is also showing a point lower than cost. Now, this is a new term and I am going to take some time and explain it to you. So, the first term I will want to explain to you is willingness to pay. So, we may have bought apples are no longer 4 rupees or 3 rupees, they are more like 40 rupees. I may have bought it at 40, but I may have been willing to go up to 50 had it been at 50. Very often companies do not know at what is the right price for their product and therefore they decide and we will come to it in one of the pricing strategies which is called competitive price. So, we will price it exactly equal to what competition is and in doing so some of the things that you have built in as differentiation, as superiority, as features and benefits which are better, higher order, more superior, differentiated from your competition, you have not charged at all. So, the willingness to pay is how much the customer can stretch for that product. Very difficult to do in the case of MRP products, but the parts you will understand are things where people are trying to buy a house. There are two people bidding for that one house. One person bids X and the other person is willing to go to 1.3 times that number. In that you are exposed to what is the willingness to pay. In regular products, in regular everyday products that you and I are buying, we buy at MRP and therefore we do not even think, but if asked the question, we might have been willing to pay more. The other side is an opportunity cost. So, for example, a vendor is selling me the strap for this watch at X rupees. She may have been willing to sell it at lower had I negotiated harder or whatever the reason may have been. So, that is called an opportunity cost. And here the difference between price and cost is profit, we already knew that, that is the company's share. The difference between willingness to pay and actual price paid is the surplus or is the amount the customer keeps, whether they pay or not, they were willing to pay. Yeah? So, that is the amount they are keeping in their wallets without having given to your company at all, and the difference between the cost and the opportunity cost is what the supplier or the vendor keeps. So, just reiterating, price and cost are the two most important, the difference between the two is profit, but the value chain extends even longer. There is surplus, more often than not there is surplus with the consumer, because the value that you have delivered is higher than price. Value is at least equal to price as we learned in a few lessons before, but value can be higher than price, and on the other side the vendor might have been willing to give you at a slightly lower price than what you have bought it at, and that is called the supplier surplus. These are some of the terms. So, if you are an entrepreneur, you should keep wanting to know what is that willingness to pay price. You should try to keep your price as close to that willingness to pay. Why should you leave so much money on the table as indicated in this graph? And similarly, on the other side, you should negotiate with your vendor such that the cost is as close to the opportunity cost as possible, and that is the reason for me to bring this chart to you and explain some of the basic concepts related to pricing. Now, let us talk about pricing approaches or pricing strategies. After having understood the basic terms of pricing, which are price, cost, willingness to pay and the opportunity cost. So, there are three pricing approaches or three different ways for you as an entrepreneur to price your products. The first one we call the cost plus pricing. Here manufacturers, it is a very manufacturing or maybe even a service kind of business does that. You figure out what is the cost of your product. For example, in my cookie example, it is an easy one for me to explain to you. In the cookie example, I know to make about a kg of one of the NutriChoice, a Good Day or any cookie, we need so much wheat flour, I need so much sugar, we need so much of either butter or whatever is the other oil that goes in. There will be some flavors that go into making a cookie. There might be chocolate powder, etc., etc. So, the ingredients are pretty well known. The cost of those ingredients put together in a kilo of the finished product is called variable cost. We will come again, we will cover this in great detail on the finance module, but it is important for you to understand that cost means the variable cost, all the material costs that goes in. In material there is also packaging. So, material which is the raw material, packaging material, as well as the cost of labor. To produce 1 kilo of cookies, I do not know, we might need one operator on a line or whatever, we might need some electricity and so on. So, whatever is the cost that goes into producing 1 kilo of cookie is called the cost of the 1 kg. Pricing can be anything higher than that. We do not want to lose money, we do not want to make zero profit, we want to make some profit, all of us want to make not just some profit, but a lot of profit. But cost plus pricing says, if I can produce a kg of cookies in 100 rupees, say, I can price it at anything higher than 100, maybe 110, maybe somebody will say 120, but that is cost plus pricing, which is that I know the total cost it cost us to make the product, and we can make a little money, a little profit, maybe 10%, maybe 20% of profit. That is called cost plus pricing. The second approach to pricing is called comparative pricing. It means exactly what it says, which is that I am in a comparative market. It is not just my cookies that sell, there are 5 different types of cookies or 5 different types of companies selling cookies. So, rather than outprice myself and price it too high or lose money by pricing it too low, I will just price it exactly how other companies have priced their product. That is called comparative pricing. Maybe I will charge a 5% premium, or I am a new brand, so I can't charge a premium, let me be 10% cheaper than the rest of the market. So, the decision on how to price simply comes from looking at the market and saying how is it that other people have priced. I will price pretty much at the same, maybe little higher because my brand has superiority or my product has superiority, or little lower because I am new in the market and nobody knows about us yet. So, that is comparative pricing. The third approach to pricing is called perceived value pricing. What does perceived value pricing mean? It means that you price it depending on the perception of value. So, it is also in the thought itself builds in who you are selling to. So, perceived value, I may perceive the value of a product at 50 rupees. Somebody else may price it or think of the value as only 30 rupees or whatever. And very often this approach is used by hospitals. So, hospitals tell you that we can give you a single bed or we can give you a double bedroom, and you think that you are paying just for that, but the pricing of the operation theatre, of the consumables and medication, even of the time of the doctors and the nurses, etc., is based on that choice, which is, do I want a single room or do I want a shared room? That tells the hospital what is the perception of value that you are willing to pay, and everything else changes as per that. So, after seeing the 3 approaches to pricing, which is cost plus pricing, competitive pricing and perceived value pricing, I am trying to show you some manifestations or some examples, so that these come to light, they become easier for you to understand, and maybe some of you are thinking about the idea that you have and how will you price the product that you come up with. So, here is one. This is something all of us know, we have all bought on sales like this. This one is a Flipkart Big Billion Day. I do not know what the Amazon sale is called, Great India Shopping Festival, something. So, these are things that we are used to seeing maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. I do not know if it happens during a festival or just before a festival, I have forgotten what days they are, but this is essentially saying that the best prices on any product you will get at this point of time. All of this is modeled around what is called Black Friday in the United States. It's the day after Thanksgiving. It was started by some large retailer in the US, and it's now been, everybody is doing it in every country or the other. So, this is our very own, which is Flipkart. I am going to show you another one. This one is Walmart. Walmart is actually the parent of Flipkart, US company which bought out Flipkart and therefore owns Flipkart in India. Their policy or their strategy is not the best pricing is available to you in 5 days in a year or 3 days in a year or anything like that. Their policy is everyday low price. Why should you wait for Black Friday? Why should you wait for a big billion day? You come here every day, we will give you low price. Yeah? So, that is the policy or strategy or manifestation of price. So, just the word price, which is low price, and low price typically means cost plus pricing. We have done this at our cost, we add a little bit of margin and that becomes our price, but even in that, even in cost plus pricing, see the two very, very different approaches. One person says, I will give you our best prices twice a year, not more than twice a year. The other person says, I will give you best prices every day. Don't even bother to wait for Black Friday. Okay? Here is another example or another set of examples on pricing. So, here is a US retailer called Best Buy, and they are saying, if you are price shopping, what does price shopping mean? I want to buy this watch, I look at the price of this watch on website A, I look at it on website B, I go to the store and check the price and I will buy at the lowest price. That is what most of us do, that is how all of us do. What Best Buy says is, if you are price shopping, do not worry, we are price matching. So, and they guarantee that they will price match, meaning, and I have done this, therefore, I am able to share this example with you. I am standing at a Best Buy to buy some watch or phone or a durable, because Best Buy is like a consumer durable store in the US, or a computer, I do not remember, and the price in that store is XX dollars, and I am online looking at my phone and saying, is it available cheaper anywhere else? And I do find it available cheaper, not me, I do not do this, but I thankfully have my son who is very good at all these things. He finds that it is cheaper somewhere else. We show it to the staff at Best Buy and immediately they drop the price of that for us. So, they price match. Please understand, all of this is just manifestations or articulations or expressions of low price. But in one it was low price once a year, in another it was low price every day, and in the third case was like whatever the price we will match it. So, this is a manifestation actually of competitive pricing. This is an old example, our phones do not look like this anymore, but and all of you are born a couple of generations after what phones looked like these, but when phones looked so similar to each other and there was very little differentiation, the only differentiation was on price. So, whoever sold this phone at the lowest price, that is what people bought at. Okay? So, low price is often linked to cost plus pricing, which means I produce as cheap as possible, as low cost as possible, I add a very small margin on top of that, a very small profit on top of that, and that becomes my selling price. So, the last page, which were manifestations of discounted price, this is again a manifestation of discounted price, but done in a very smart manner, I am going to say, and here is an example coming forward of perceived value price. So, here is a picture, there is no price written anywhere on this picture. I chose to remove the brand and so on, but this is the image, and what it says in very small font at the bottom, not like I have written here, in very small font, it says price on request. Himmat hai to price pucho. That is my language, not theirs. They are saying, if you are interested in our product, please reach out to us. Here is our email or whatever. Very often it's an Instagram ad, so you can immediately directly write to them. So, it is like ask us a price and we will write to you. Yeah. So, very different views on pricing. Cost plus, which is produce at the lowest, put in a small profit and sell. Competitive pricing, and this one is an example of perceived value pricing. I do not know, I might value that at some my younger niece might value it differently. I am paying for it with my money, my younger niece is paying for it with her parents' money, do not know, but the manifestation or the perceived value of this product is different for different people, and that is why it says price on request. We have seen some manifestations of pricing. We have also seen some approaches to pricing, 3 approaches: cost plus, perceived value and competitive pricing. Most of you will be involved in some manner or the other in pricing your products. If you are the founder, you are the final say on what the pricing is. In a B2B organization, the head of sales typically decides the price. In a B2C organization, the marketing team, which is responsible for the launch of the product or the delivery of the product, is responsible for pricing the product, but cannot do it in isolation without understanding all the elements of costs, and therefore, unit economics is very key to pricing. Unit economics is a financial term. We will cover it in great detail in the finance and accounting module, but I want to leave a couple of high level thoughts with you at this point of time. The first and third and second and third are contribution margin, and I will explain each of these right now. There is something called customer acquisition cost, and there is something called LTV, which is the lifetime value of a customer. Contribution margin simply means what is the variable profit that you make, and again I have introduced a new term, but let me say we are making chai. If we are making chai and it costs us like I did for a cookie, I can quickly do for chai. We need milk, we need sugar, we need chai patti, might need some masala or ginger or whatever. These are, I need a cup. If I am selling in a paper cup, then I need the cup. Those are the things that you need to sell one cup of tea. So, if the cost of all of these together, let us say adds up to 5 rupees, we can choose to price it at 6 or at 10 or at 20. Let us assume we price it at 10. The difference between 10 and 5 is called contribution margin, where all the variable costs have been taken into account. What else is there to costing beyond variable is the cost of labor, the cost of power, I mean gas or hot plate or whatever you are making it on, and rentals and so on. So, contribution margin is after you have taken out all the costs which are going towards producing, it is called cost of goods sold, producing or manufacturing that one unit of chai. So, price of chai 10, cost of making chai 5, the contribution margin is 5. Over and above this, we have to go and find customers. That is called customer acquisition cost. If you are a chai ka galla or a tapri or just on the street, people who are walking by stop and have chai, you do not need to spend money to go and get customers, but most of us who have businesses, most of us who will launch products or have companies will have to go and acquire customers through advertising or through knocking on doors and making cold calls, having sales people. Again we will cover that in the sales module, but that is the customer acquisition cost. The long time value or lifetime value of a customer is the total revenue that you get from that customer divided by the cost of acquisition of the customer. So, a factor of 3 or a factor of 5 are considered very good, which means that I acquire a customer one time, but they buy at least 5 times. Yeah? I am repeating, I spend let us say 100 rupees to acquire a customer, advertising, salesman, whatever. However, the value, the revenue that customer gives me is 500 rupees. So, 500 on 100, a factor of 5 is considered very good, a factor of 3 is also considered good. And just to explain this in more detail, the unit economics model says that firstly, a company has to make money at the contribution margin, which means it should not be zero profit. It should make money at least on the cost of goods sold. So, price minus cost of goods sold is the contribution margin. You should take away all the costs associated with producing, with manufacturing, with making that product, which in the case of chai were those 3-4 things I said: sugar, milk, chai patti, ginger, masala, whatever, as well as the salary of the cook, the gas, cost of gas or the cost of electricity, and the cost of rent. These are actual real costs. Over and above that, we have what is called customer acquisition cost, and here is a customer acquisition cost like I gave you of 100, and we need to get a lifetime value at least 3 or 4 or 5 times, and that is what decides how you will price the product at. So, for example, if you know that, or if you believe, if you fundamentally understand and believe that you will acquire the customer once, but they will continue to buy you over a period of time, then you can spend a lot of money acquiring that customer. The customer acquisition cost, CAC, can be high, because you know that while CAC is high, that person is going to stay with you for a very long time. So, many of the OTT subscription plans work on this model. I gave you, I think, in some lesson an example of I think printers and consumables. We know the lifetime value is going to be high. So, my customer acquisition cost or my pricing can be kept low. Just understand that if I keep pricing low, I acquire customers easily. It is the same as having a higher customer acquisition cost, but I know that they will continue to buy me over a long period of time. So, understanding LTV, lifetime value in the divided by CAC in the context of a customer acquisition cost allows you to price your product, because the pricing of your product will not just have the contribution margin, which is the cost of goods sold, but will also include the cost to acquire the customer. In the early stages of a entrepreneur or a startup's journey, they try and recover contribution margin, which means that they will not be out of pocket, but they will be out of pocket as far as the advertising and sales promotion is concerned. You will understand that a lot better as we come into our finance module, but here want to leave you with the fundamentals in pricing, which is the price, cost, the surplus for the customer, which is willingness to pay. This is actually more homework for you than really some theory that I want to teach. So, the question you need to ask yourself is the 3 approaches to price that we had, cost plus, comparative and perceived value. Which of them is relevant at which of the stages in the Maslow's need hierarchy? I will give you some clues. Just think about as you go up the ladder, do you think prices go up or do prices come down? I won't give you an answer. I want you to do some thinking on it, but it is very linked. The routes to pricing are very linked to this. The routes to pricing are also linked to where the startup is in their own journey. Startups may start with cost plus pricing, or they may start with competitive pricing only when they have built some differentiation, some branding and some superiority and understood who their core customers are, will they start looking at perceived value pricing. So, this needs hierarchy, the pricing approaches, the life stage of where your startup is, all of this go hand in hand in putting out the final price of your product. It may manifest as only 5 rupees or 500,000 rupees, but a lot of thinking goes into all of this. I'm just going to recap the pricing lesson for you. The three approaches to pricing are cost plus pricing, comparative pricing and perceived value pricing. They manifest themselves in various different ways. What is important for you to know is that you as an entrepreneur will have to decide pricing for your products or service, and you will do it by knowing unit economics, which is first understanding the contribution margin of your product, so that you are not out of pocket on the cost of manufacturing that product. So, that is the first most important thing, that you will be contribution margin positive, and then you will try and get you will spend money on advertising, on your sales team and so on. And very often in the early stages of the startup's journey, those you do not make profit on to start with, those are always out of pocket. Not always, they are out of pocket at the early stages of your entrepreneurial journey, but as your company builds superior products, starts getting some customers in and builds some reputation or branding in the market, then you can start charging for the cost of acquisition also, and you will make a profit not just on the COGS, which is the cost of goods sold, but you will make money on customer acquisition cost also, and we will come to that when we do our finance and accounting module. Thank you.